I stand to second the motion that has been moved by the leader, Majority Leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, for his efforts and for his immense contribution towards the campaign of our Kenyan candidate in the African Union Commission chairmanship contest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the President of this country and his government has done everything possible to campaign, to lobby, and to do everything possible to make sure that we win in this contest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it was not a secret that the President visited African capitals and met presidents to lobby and campaign for our Kenyan candidate, Mr. Speaker, and at the same time also received presidents in this country, Mr. Speaker, to talk to them and tell them that we have the best candidate in the contest. Mr. Speaker, we will not forget that. As a party, ODM party, as people, Mr. Speaker, we will remind everyone who wants to forget that the President campaigned and lobbied for our candidate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also I want to thank the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker, for stepping out, because, Mr. Speaker, it requires a lot of courage, Mr. Speaker, and determination to come out and say that I want to represent my country at a very high level, Mr. Speaker, of the African Union. Many Kenyans will want, Mr. Speaker, to contest for that kind of position, but it requires courage. It requires somebody who has the stamina, Mr. Speaker, to show and to come out and say that I want to run for this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this country could not have a better candidate than him, because his credentials are known, Mr. Speaker. And he has served the African Union, Mr. Speaker, at the level of High Representative on Infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, before, for a period of, I think, 3 years. And he had performed exemplarily very well. And he had done a good job. And, Mr. Speaker, he had all the credentials as a Pan-Africanist to contest for that high office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in an election contest, there must be a winner and there must be a loser. And you can also go on a draw. Mr. Speaker, it is not easy to raise the confidence of over 20 presidents of a country, Mr. Speaker. You have seen the first round, he got 22 votes. Those are 22 countries that have faith and confidence in the candidature of Honorable Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker. Many of us, if we were to contest, we might not even get 2 presidents or 3, Mr. Speaker, or even one vote of a president, Mr. Speaker. But he could manage to raise those numbers because he's a Pan-Africanist, he's known in this continent, and he has done and participated in many things affecting this country, Mr. Speaker, in solving them. Mr. Speaker, the election went as it went. Even when he was going for the election, his last speech at Bomas of Kenya, in a conference that was held by the ODM party, he said he'll be very happy if he wins, and in the event he loses, he has a home to come back to. And life continues as usual, and he will do his things, his business, and other things that he normally does. But, Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me as a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, and up to now I am still in shock, is not the loss that we had in Addis Ababa. Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me is that the celebration that happened in some parts of our country after we lost that election, Mr. Speaker. This was not a Kenyan contest, Mr. Speaker. Some of the people who are celebrating are keeping now busy the majority leader here. Can they sit down so that they can hear what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker.
Order, Wamawa and...
These are some of the people who are celebrating. She celebrated, but that is fine, because in a contest you can...
Order, Wamawa, you cannot cross the aisle like that.
Mr. Speaker,
it's the material what she wants to do.
Mr. Speaker,
Go on.
Kenyans knew very well that this is not an election that is going to happen within the country. It's not an election that is normally announced at Bomas of Kenya. This was an election that was happening at the African Union. And some of the Kenyans became so unpatriotic and supporting a candidate against Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and even campaigning for him openly in the social media, in all kind of sphere, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot be so unpatriotic. If today a Kenyan of any color, any race, any religion, any creed comes out to contest for an international position, Mr. Speaker, I will support. In the spirit of being a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, that's all. The first thing that we need to look at is being a Kenyan, not from the community you come from, not from your color, not from your religion, not from anything. Mr. Speaker, how unpatriotic can some Kenyans be that they fought the Right Honorable Prime Minister for 1 year he has been campaigning, and after losing, they celebrated. We shall revisit that, I can assure you. We will revisit that one. It will not go. We will revisit at the right time. We will also have our day to laugh and to celebrate, Mr. Speaker. And it's not very far, it is coming, Mr. Speaker. It's not very far. You can take that to the bank, and I will remind you the day I'm celebrating that you also celebrated your day. This is my day. Inshallah. Bismillah al-Karim. Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate the winner. In a contest, someone must win. And a country that is who is our neighbor in the same region, the Eastern African region, won the election. So we have every reason to celebrate also and to congratulate them, Mr. Speaker, because in a contest we expected to have a winner and a loser. But we expected ourselves to win, but we did not win. So we cannot be so losers. We say, there are many things that happened. I was in Addis Ababa, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to talk about them now, but that is part of the election. You don't have to complain. You don't have to begrudge anyone. That is normal. All of us defeated someone by being in this house, Mr. Speaker. All of us defeated someone by being in this house, Mr. Speaker. We had opponents, Mr. Speaker, in the election. Even you, to be elected as a speaker, you had opponents. We had a candidate, Azimio, and Kenya Kwanza proposed you, and you got the highest votes. And now today you are presiding over here as our speaker. You are a speaker for all of us. We are not saying, oh, we have lost, now another speaker must sit next to you, the one who lost to you. We cannot work like that. So, Mr. Speaker, in a contest, it goes that way. But I want Kenyans to get experience out of this contest, because this is not going to be the last time a Kenyan is going to contest for an international job. And I want to encourage the government of the Republic of Kenya to propose and support Kenyans who are qualified to go for international positions, Mr. Speaker. The UN Secretary General job is coming up in the next year, Mr. Speaker. If there's a Kenyan who feels he's qualified to become the Secretary General of the UN, he should go for it. And Kenyans will support. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It doesn't matter. Go for it. So, Mr. Speaker, many countries in this region have done very well, much better than our country, in terms of positioning their people in this multilateral organization, Mr. Speaker. We have not done very well as a country in that sphere, Mr. Speaker. We have to improve our socks and make sure that a lot of Kenyans, even the ones who are celebrating, instead of holding people in villages, in somewhere there in Nyeri, release them, let them go for these international positions if they are qualified. Don't hold people there buying them uji every day. And they are qualified, they have papers, they have masters, they have degrees, everything. Take them out, Mr. Speaker. Wamunyoro is not a church. Unless it's another Shakahola place where people now go there and they want to die there inside there. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that I have thanked the President on behalf of my party, on behalf of my constituency, and on behalf of myself for showing leadership as our President and supporting the candidature of our party leader. I want to also congratulate my party leader. He's a strong man. Very strong man, Mr. Speaker. And he always has a second chance. If there is any other position to serve in the continent, he will be available. In the world, everywhere, Mr. Speaker, he has been available, Mr. Speaker. He has served the African Union before. and we will continue supporting him, and he's my leader, and we will make sure that we provide our services to the people of this country and to the people of this country, Mr. Speaker, in whichever level we can, in whichever capacity that we can. There are people who thought that this contest was political. They thought that, oh, this is a contest now, or if we lose, ODM will get annoyed. I don't know, annoyed of what? If there are people we should be annoyed with, it should be Djibouti, the people who took our cup. Yeah, why should we be annoyed with somebody who was not contesting against us? We should be annoyed with the people who defeated us. And we are not annoyed with them also. We are congratulating them for doing a good job. Because African Union belongs to all of us. As a nation, we are part of the African Union. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I wish to second and warn the naysayers that you should avoid that kind of thing going forward in future. Mr. Speaker, because if you are going to oppose a Kenyan because of his political affiliation, because of domestic issues, it's a very primitive way of looking at things. And I know some of the people, why we impeach them also, it was not in the impeachment paper, but it's primitivity. Some of them are very primitive people. Village mentality. You know, people want to go to international organizations. Instead of supporting them, you are judging them on the basis of what happens in a village, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sad about that. I do not expect people to celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. It's a shame. Whichever you are, you cannot celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. I repeat again. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Now, if our athlete loses in a contest now, in the New York Marathon or in the London Marathon, you expect me to celebrate? No. Because it's not from my community? No. It's not from my region? It's not from my religion? It's not from my village? It's not from my what? Shame on you. Shame. And those people who did that must desist. And never to repeat that. I must say that on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker. Because this is where we address issues of concern to the people. And that is an issue of high concern to the people, Mr. Speaker. When we are telling Kenyans that you cannot run in any contest outside Kenya. In the first place, even if we run here in Kenya, they will not vote for us, I know. We have taken very serious that matter, and we don't want it to happen in our country again. We want to support our people. We want to support our Kenyans wherever they are. That is why we impeach certain people, because they were telling us we are not shareholders of this country. That's what they told us. We have not forgotten. They told us that you are not shareholders in this country. I don't know when the shareholding certificate was issued in this country. At independence, everyone was there. You should call for annual general meetings so that we know which shares we have. So you get impeached on that kind of nonsense, and you continue celebrating again the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. We will stand firm. We will hold our head high. We have not lost anything. We have, in the contrary, we have gained, because we have registered the name of Kenya in the international arena, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I urge all members to support and to register their thanks, especially to the President and to the former Prime Minister who put his line, or his head on the line, Mr. Speaker, for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable members, I'll now propose the question, which is that recalling that the African Union, the successor of the Organization of African Unity, or AU, was launched in 2002 as a continental body consisting of the 55 member states that make up the countries of the African continent, with a vision of creating an integral, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena, aware that the African Union Commission, AUC, established as the secretariat responsible for the day-to-day operations and activities of the AU is headed by the chairperson elected by heads of state and governments from member states. Recalling that on 27th February 2024, Kenya formally announced that the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, will be vying for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC, building